Hello beautiful people, and welcome to your practical application of astrology. It's been a while since I recorded another one of those, and also it's been a while since I recorded anything at all. I think it's been like 2 weeks, because last time I hopped on we were in preparation for the Libra Full Moon, I believe, and also I and my husband were in preparation for the vision quest that we attended, which was now over a week ago, because this is how fast the time flies. So anyway, I felt the need to hop on now. I have not yet recorded the Aries New Moon video, which I will be probably recording tomorrow, and it will be published towards the end of the week before the Aries New Moon, which we are building up towards now. The moment when I'm recording this, actually Moon is in the sign of Pisces, so we are culminating old cycles, and perhaps that's the reason why I'm supposed to hop on and share some of my most recent experiences or musings or observation or whatever it is that I'm going to be talking about here. And also I am nearing the end of my solar return, so my birthday is coming up week Sunday, so I will be preparing a little offering for that as well, so stay tuned. I very likely start running that on the day when Sun moves into the sign of Taurus, which for some of us is on the 19th, some other one of us, depending where you are in the world, will be on the 20th. So with all of that out of the way, yeah, it's been quite a lot. It's been quite a lot. This year 2026 already feels like we've already gone through many years in this 1 year alone, even though we are only in the second quarter. We only just entered the month of April, and guess what, we are almost halfway through. So this is what I mean, like especially here in Mexico, the days are like like the days feels like a week has gone, and yeah, and the month feels like, in one week you've gone through a whole month. Like there's so much happening, and I'm sure many can resonate, and there is a lot happening in everybody's life, because of course now Mars being a sign of his rulership, Venus is still in the sign of Taurus, in the sign of her rulership, preparing for that final conjunction with Uranus on the analytic 29 degrees. So final conjunction between Venus and Uranus in sign of Taurus in our lifetime. So we have a lot of culminations going on here. And of course, for me, being where I am and experiencing the things I'm experiencing and coming into contact with the people that are crossing my path, many of us are in the same boat. Not everybody is here to create or experience these new timelines in a physical form at this stage, but those of us who are, we are all going through these massive transformations, that all these past patterns that are no longer working for us, the past thought processes, the past belief systems, all of these are resurfacing, whether it's through people, circumstances, situations that bring up emotions, because Jupiter, of course, still in a sign of Cancer, but now direct, so we are going ahead, bringing in all these emotions, bring to the surface emotions that are so old, and they come in up through the circumstances and people and situations of the current present moment, and we feel like, oh my god, perhaps the way I'm responding, reacting to this, it's like kind of exaggerated, a little bit like too much, because we are not processing just the emotions of the present moment, but something that's been around for a very long time. As I mentioned many times in my previous videos, that the emotions and the things that we are processing right now, that we are releasing, are as old as time. They don't belong to me, they don't belong to you, they belong to all of us as a human collective consciousness, our heritage, and we are now going through this process of transformations and transmutations, where we are calibrating and aligning ourselves with these future versions of ourselves, and releasing the old past versions of ourselves, including the past roles we played. Like I mentioned previously, these old systems, old structures, they're already gone. All that's remained is the bones. Same for us, like these roles that we used to play for one year another, with regards to that Piscean blueprint, they are gone, but we still like, okay, this feels so familiar, I still keep playing this role. So even through that vision quest that I experienced here in Mexico with my husband. I was a supporter, actually. He was the visioner, so he's gone through all that process that experience entails. I was in a campsite with all the other supporters, and it was quite beautiful to see how people come together and support one another in something that they see meaningful, something that actually holds a value, that helps them and helps the other to co-create something that is decided that yes, this is something that we want to bring into manifested form, something we want to create more of. And it is that frequency of the new earth, it is the frequency of new experience, new way of living life. So people coming together and going through these processes of facing their shadow, facing their weaknesses, you can say, or what it is that they feel as like, okay, this is what is holding me back, or it's stifling me, or it's not allowing me to move on. And people come together and they support one another in facing that, in going through that. It was really very mystical experience, and it was very emotional to observe that, how people do come together to support people that they might not even know, but they just support the cause. They support, like, yes, this is something that holds a meaning, because you're going through this for yourself, but you're also going through this for us, for me. And it's interesting, paradoxical, like with everything that's going on in the world, which as usual, I don't really go looking for information or keep my eye on things, but energetically I feel what's going on, and also there are people in my life that feel the need to fill me in on the keynotes. So I am not completely ignorant to the happenings in the world, but it really is that, especially now with these final days of this lunar cycle. Well, moon will be moving into the sign of Aries on Tuesday evening. I probably will release this on Tuesday. I don't think I'll have enough time to process everything and release it on Monday. So and to me, even though we are in the Aries season, and even though we have had experienced the equinox, which means the beginning of the new astrological year, but to me it doesn't fully kick in with until the new moon in Aries, because the new moon in Aries is really the seeding of the new cycle, the seeding of the new cycle, when the sun and the moon, the solar and the lunar energy, the feminine and the masculine, come together to conceive this new cycle with the new moon. And this one is on the 27 degrees, which, as I mentioned previously, is the first new moon that is not happening on 28 degrees since that new moon in Libra, which we just had a full moon, first full moon of those 6 new moons we experienced, from new moon in Libra to new moon in Pisces. And we just experienced this first full moon of those new moons, which was the full moon in Libra. So now with this Aries being on 27 degrees, of course 27 is the number 9. I have not had yet looked at the chart, so that will be something I will be preparing for the next video. But it's interesting because, again, the 9, which like the omega, the 9, the endings, we had the year 9, we just came out of the year of the Hermit, and now we are in the year 10, 0 and the 1. And this is the new moon in Aries, but it's happening on the 9, right? On the a number that adds up to 9, plus it is the final lunation with Uranus in the sign of Taurus in our lifetime. And with this Uranus in Taurus, and as I already mentioned at the beginning of this video, we still will experience the final conjunction between Venus as the current ruler of Uranus and the upcoming ruler of Chiron, and Chiron as the key between Saturn and Uranus, the manifested form, the current world we are experiencing, the matrix, the reality that we are observing, and the Uranus, which is the quantum field, the potential what could be brought into manifested form. And Venus will become the ruler of Chiron, so she will move from Uranus to Chiron as a ruler of Taurus. So anyway, having this final lunation with Uranus in the sign of Taurus, and that will be right before this conjunction that will take place a few days later. So we are culminating this cycle of Uranus in the sign of Taurus, which has begun in 2018. So that's all about, okay, we have been reevaluating Taurus, the free decan, Taurus, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. At the moment, we have been reevaluating what holds a meaning, what holds a value, who am I in this big picture, right? Like, what is my relationship towards this world? How is this world responding to me? And previously we played one of these 4 roles, the role of the victim, martyr, the prosecutor, or the savior, right? And we don't want to play these roles anymore. We don't want to have to be anything other than who we truly are, the true essence, the true expression of my soul, right? We all came here to play this role for one another because the contracts had to be fulfilled, but that's now finished with the Saturn in the sign of Aries. Mars just had a conjunction with Neptune for the first time in the sign of Aries. That was last night on Sunday, and now we are preparing for Mars conjuncting Saturn for the first time in the sign of Aries after like almost 3 decades, right? Like almost 28 years or so. So now we are starting this new cycle. Mars, how Pluto acts, or consciously Mars, the current ruler of Neptune and Saturn, Mars, the upcoming ruler of this new moon in Aries, the true beginning of this new cycle on the 27 degrees, the number 9. So on this shoulders of the ancestors, of these shoulders of those of us who walked the earth before us, we are building something new. We are excavating the meaning, right? We're already out of Pisces, even though North Node is still in the sign of Pisces. Moon just conjuncted North Node in the sign of Pisces, so there is a new cycle with that too. So we are excavating the meaning, but we have been learning, especially with the Jupiter in the sign of Cancer influencing the lunations influencing Jupiter, and also Jupiter being the core ruler of this North Node being a sign of Pisces, South Node in a sign of Virgo, which is influencing everyone, right? We have been learning what holds a meaning, what is helping us to grow and evolve past the limitations of the old cycles, past the limitations of this Piscean age, which was all about playing these 4 roles, letting go of, in a sense, a free will to decide, even though there is still always free will involved on this planet, on this realm, but we were tied by these contracts, right? These karmic contracts, like, yes, I still have to fulfill this role that I play for you, you play for me, because there is this energy stuck in the time and space, right? This karma. But now this is all done, this is all finished, but we still feel like, okay, I guess like when people have amputated limb and they can still feel the phantom limb, like, okay, there's no leg, but I can still feel it, I can still feel it, like it's there. So it's like that, like these roles have dissolved now, they finished, but I can still feel it, maybe I still have something to do with you, or you with me, or something. So we're going through this process, this transition. We are in this transition where we're learning, like, okay, if I don't play this role for you, then what do I do? Who am I? Then who am I without all these labels? Who am I? Who am I becoming? Who am I here to be? And like I mentioned, I'm sure I shared this before, like after my first ayahuasca ceremony last year, my shaman said to me, and now everything will be removed, and only like the scaffolding will be removed, and only the true essence of who you are will remain. That's what he said to me when my life started fully falling apart, the life as I knew it. So that's what I mean. So this is what's happening, especially now with Jupiter direct, right? And being influenced by all of these lunations influencing the Jupiter is how we expand, how we grow. So through my personal experience, even just being here this time in Vallarta, on my Pluto line, it's also my husband's Pluto line, because funnily enough, wherever we go, our relocated charts are the same. It's the same ascendant wherever we go. It's quite funny. So it's been a lot of culminations of the past by re-experiencing the past pattern, the past emotions, especially the emotions. Like maybe I mentioned before, maybe it was just like, okay, one theme per week, okay, something gets triggered, something shows up, and then we have like a, few days to process it, and then, okay, there is few days of nothing happening, quiet, right? And now it's all the time new patterns, old patterns are resurfacing, because there are new patterns already waiting to be re-established, to be taken place of these old patterns, or old ways of being, old ways of reacting to the situation. So things keep coming around and around until it goes like, okay, how can I approach this situation differently? How can I respond differently? So this is literally like, this is how we transform the karma, right? The emotions, the energy in motion, stuck in time and space karma, it gets re-experience again, because there are people, circumstances, situations that make you feel certain way, which is an emotion that has been felt for thousands of years by your ancestors, by your past lives, versions of self, right? So this emotion comes up again, whatever it is, grief, shame, sense of abandonment, whatever it is, these lower density emotions. So these emotions, they're old, right? They remind us of the times past, what was, even like all of us, very likely are aware that usually what I feel when I get triggered is actually not as much in response to this situation is something that happened long time ago. I feel this way, and it's usually exaggerated, right? Usually not so much in proportion to what's happening, to what's happening in the present moment, because it's something that got built up over a long time, right? Like there is an origin of that emotion, which is not even my life, it's not even your life, right? But it is an origin of that emotion, and then it gets built up over the time, and then every time I get triggered, this emotion comes up and it's like multiplied. And especially now with Jupiter being a sign of Cancer, your emotion, your inner world, your sense of self, right? Everything is being very exaggerated, very multiplied, amplified, so we cannot run away with it. So every time we feel again and again and again this emotion, whatever the emotion is, there is a choice point. It says that, okay, I can respond differently to create new timelines. Every time I respond differently to this emotion, whatever the emotion is, predominantly in a collective consciousness at the moment is the emotion of fear, right? That is the most dominant probably emotion in this world right now, is the emotion of fear. So, okay, I feel afraid. Yeah, I can admit I feel afraid. There are things going on outside of my control. Most of them are connected to collective contracts, which I don't have any control over. They are not my responsibility either. So I feel afraid because, nothing I can do. And we know what is fear. Fear is full evidence appearing real, right? So what am I really afraid of? I'm afraid of something that might or might not happen, like there are obviously... it is so complex and so easy at the same time, because obviously those who play the role to bring these emotions up in us, there is a positive aspect of that, because by the law of balance, one of the universal law, nothing could be happening if it didn't have a positive outcome. Like I already, I think, mentioned that, explained that as you see the sign of yin and yang, in the white part is the little black dot, and in the black part is the little white dot. So it says that every positive can have a negative impact to a certain extent at some point in time, and just like like the weapons that's been created, usually the origin of these things is not to be detrimental, or every negative things eventually has to come to something positive, has to lead to something positive, right? So when we look at the micro to macro again, the things that are happening out there, the things that are creating this opportunity to feel the same emotion, in us, whether this is through your personal life, this is through what you're observing going on in a collective, there is an opportunity to respond to this emotion differently, because every time we respond in the same way, the same creation, like Abraham Hicks, I heard saying, in one of the channelings that we say like, oh, like I'm doing all these things, whatever, and there's nothing happening, I'm not creating every day, nothing's happening, I'm not creating this result that I want, and then I'm loosely paraphrasing, this is not exactly how it was being said, but, and then Abraham said that you are creating all the time, so if you're creating something that you don't want, then you're just recreating the same thing, but you're creating all the time, all the time we're creating. But what are we creating? Are we creating something new or something of the same, more of the same thing, right? So that's why these old things are resurfacing in our personal life, through personal experiencing, where people trigger us, where people upset us, they hurt us. So, these old emotions can live again, so we can respond in a different way. So we can see beyond the present moment. So we can see, yes, I'm having this experience, I'm feeling this emotion, because I'm not bypassing, I'm trying to be here present with it, because this is my present experience. But at the same time, engage in something other than just the mind, which will judge and criticize and try to polarize and put things in a good or bad category. But at the same time, trying to look at things from the wider point of view, from the higher perspective, which is okay, but there is also a different way to look at the situation, which is through the eye of the unconditional love, right? The heart chakra, the unconditional love, which is not the human love, the human love, which is polarized. I have a preference, I like this, I don't like that, right? Because we are living in a world of duality, that is the solar plexus, that like, this is my identity, I have a preference, I like this, I don't like that, right? So the universal love, which is the heart chakra, the universal cosmic love, the Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it, right? The 33 master number frequency, that is not polarized, that is not judging. 33, number 6, 6, the harmony and balance. Everything is perfect. Everything is perfect at every moment, no matter what's happening, no matter what you're observing, it is perfect, because from every situation something good has to come out, otherwise it wouldn't be allowed to be happening. So this is why in our everyday reality, in my personal life, the things that I've been re-experiencing over and over and over and over and over again, and it makes me tired, and it makes me to judge myself, because I go like, okay, why is this still happening? Come on, like I haven't changed at all, I haven't done any progress, I haven't done any growth, because why am I still experiencing this? Why am I still struggling with this, or something like that. But when we have the awareness that, okay, I'm aware now, or okay, I can also see it a little bit differently, I can apply a different lens through which I perceive this reality. And this is again the micro to macro, like, yes, there is another war, yes, there is more of this, yes, there is more of that, which is unwanted, which is not it's not desired anymore, it is not what we would prefer, right? Like it offers a contrast, and the contrast is becoming more and more drastic, more and more like it's very vast, right? Like the gap between the two is getting wider and wider, of what is and what is the preference, what we have a desire to experience instead. So through these contracts, a new desire is created, and then it's like, okay, by the law of attraction, like attracts like, and by the law of attraction, if I focus all my energy on this, I will manifest it, my thoughts, my beliefs, my emotions, which is why these people that play the role they play, they want to sell you stories, is it true, is it not true, who cares? Well, I mean, obviously we care, but I mean, it is not about the truth, it is about, do you want to invest your energy, your currency, your energy into this story? Because if you invest in it, you will keep creating it, help creating it and recreating it. So then what is the solution? Like I remember having this in my mind, having this like a paradox, having this how you say, like like when you're trying to resolve something, like a puzzle, like a puzzle, in my mind, that, oh yeah, but then what is the solution? If you have a war, and then if you don't protect yourself, then what, they take over your place, and like for example, if it's your house, right? So if you don't protect yourself, they're gonna rob you and hurt your family and stuff. Then what is the solution? How do we stop the war? How do we stop the war? Because if I don't protect myself, if I don't go and respond, then how will it end? How will it end? And I mean, I can't say I have a solution or an answer for you, because it is a tricky question, right? It is a tricky question. From the universal perspective, it's like, yeah, if you keep investing into this, if you can focus in it, if you keep responding in the same way, then the same will keep recreating itself. So this is what I mean. So this is like where I really realized, and through many conversations with my husband, I am becoming more aware of the fact that yes, we really cannot change this world. We cannot change this world from the three-dimensional perspective. We cannot change this world the same way it was created. We cannot. It is not possible. We have to rise above it. Rise above the three floor of the third dimension, go into the higher vibration, higher frequencies, when we can create something, something in a different way, right? Through the quantum field, through the spirit realm, right? Like and it is also trippy, and even my brain can't accept it. It is so difficult to articulate, because the mind tries to jump on and override and say like, but let me give you the database, the data, let me give you the evidence, this doesn't work, and who are you to talk? You don't know how to do it, you are not doing it. So all this self-judgment and criticism. But the point of the game is that we really cannot change this world from the same place this world was created. We cannot change the war. We cannot stop the war by creating more war, and the war exists in every single one of us. So through these situations, circumstances, triggers, we have the opportunity to really see oneself, what am I still at war with, what am I still fighting against, what it is still that I cannot accept in myself, because then all of these things are being embodied and mirrored back to me by the external reality to a certain extent, right? So And I feel I think Lilith might be in Sagittarius, but don't hold me to that. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, Lilith, she's the shadow of the humanity, the dark aspect of the moon. Lilith, the aspects of ourselves that we reject and we can't accept, we don't want to accept, because it's like, oh no, I don't want to be the bad guy, I can't accept this about myself, that yes, through my free will choices, I cause suffering, I cause pain to someone, I hurt someone, through my choices, right? It is like, no, I want to make stories, and I want to create excuses, to justify, so I'm the good guy, right? Because the ego will always try to protect itself, like it wants to survive. So it say like, no, it's justified, just like with the war, no, it's justified, we have to do it, we have to protect ourselves, we have to do this, we have to attack these other people, whether it's the war in the world, whether it's the war between me and my neighbor, whether it's the war within me, it's justified. The ego, all these different fragmented aspects of myself will say, no, it's justified. It has to be this way because I'm trying to do good, I'm trying to survive. But through the unconditional love of the universe, the lens of the unconditional love of the universe, the cosmic heart, there is no right and wrong. Everything is perfect. Everything is a creation. Everything is aspect of itself, right? So this is what we learning through all these different experiences we are having and coming into this new cycle, this new moon in Aries, seeding this new cycle of creation. Sun is in exaltation in Aries. Venus is in Taurus in her sign of rulership, and still will be for this new moon. Mars is in the sign of his rulership also, in the sign of Aries, still will be for this new moon. And also by that point, Mercury will be also in a sign of Aries, conjuncting Neptune, coming into conjunction with Saturn also. So these are all new cycle resetting, new cycle that are built on the shoulders of the old cycles, right? So what is this all about? It's about excavating the meaning. You don't have to keep repeating the history. My husband has this theory, because the saying goes that those who don't know the history are bound to repeat it, right? Actually, he doesn't believe that. He believes, no, those who know the history are going to repeat it, because if it's in your mind, the mind will keep projecting it. Like whatever you think of that, you might have an opinion, but it's just another perspective, it's just another thought offered for like, oh, okay, yeah, didn't think about it that way, whatever. So in any case, with this ending of the cycle, entering new cycles, being the Aries season in the year of the fire horse, coming towards this new moon in Aries, with the Mars, Venus in rulership, and so on, so forth, still with all the planets direct at the moment until, I think we have still a few more weeks until Pluto stations. We are going forward, but what are we going forward with? Like some other people said, channelers that said like, we going, the new earth, that's already here, that's already happening, you going. Now, how are you gonna get there and who you gonna get there is, that's up to you, that's up to you, that's the choice, that's the choice we are all making this year, this year of 10, the year of resets. Like we are really on the crossroads. We had these last 2 years, the year of the strength, the dragon and the snake, the year of the 9. We had this time to prepare, accumulate the strength, go within, shed the layers. Now whatever is not shed will be burned with the snake. And this is something, the horse, and this is something, another thing that I have experienced in my personal experience. Like we had a cacao festival here in Vallarta, and the abuelos, the elders came to participate. They were offering healings and stuff, and I had a healing, and my feet got burned, in the cauldron where this lady, abuelita, she had like things for purification, the coil, the sage, all these different things to purify the energy, and it all fell out and fell on my feet. My feet got burned, at 3 different places, and then I had to go through the process of the process that entailed the healing with the other member of the team. With being in pain with all these burned feet. But what is feet? Feet is Pisces. Pisces is the past, the cycles. What are we not what are we holding on to that we struggling with releasing? We're struggling with releasing. For me, especially is the right side, the control, the need to know, the need to manipulate, that inability to just be with the flow, the trust, the surrender, the need to, like, I need to be in charge, I need to be in charge here. But again, we go back to the same thing. You cannot create a different reality. You cannot experience this reality differently just as you being, this incarnated form of your soul from the same place, right? From the same mindset, from the same belief structure, from the same sense of identity. It is not possible. So this is why we are being humbled. I'm being humbled. I've been humbled so much in the past year. We've been humbled where we are being brought to our knees or our feet, and we are learning to let go. We are learning to let go. Even like my husband and I are preparing. Our return tickets are due to fly back to Europe. And whatever is in cards for us, because now without a private jet, you just don't know. You just don't know where you're gonna go, and also with everything else that's out of our control. And just having the faith, having the trust that okay, well, if we meant to go here and there, then we will go. If we're not meant to go, we won't go. If we meant to come back, we will come back. If we're not meant to come back, we won't come back. And there is something else, something that is not really my ego identity that is in charge. And this is something that became very conscious to me last night, actually, in my meditation. I'm getting up in the middle of the night to meditate, because that's the only time I have time, and that's the only time when it's fairly quiet here around here. Mexico is not a quiet place. And I'm starting to feel, after doing this for almost 2 months, I feel now, I guess I'm getting somewhere. I'm getting somewhere, starting to have some kind of experiences. So they're like just like trying to not fall asleep and sitting there waiting in the dark, right? And I started having this very, very conscious awareness of that, I am not in charge. I have never been. My ego might think that, oh yeah, this is all me. I'm creating and controlling all. No, like where even with my light language, I cannot make it happen when I want to show you a party trick. It comes when it comes, and it stops when it stops, and it's not in my control. There is something else that even like the way it's playing out, like how my body remembers, my hands remembers, certain movements, certain like a dance of the hands, right? It remembers, but it is not coming from my mind. It is not coming from me, but it is not in my control. And that's something that I really had a very deep recognition of last night when I was in this process, and I had a full awareness. Okay, now it's gonna stop. Now it's gonna end, and you're gonna go back to sleep, and that's it for tonight. And I cannot control it. I cannot go like, oh no, I'm not done. I want to keep going, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. No, there is something else that is in charge of your life. You are here to co-create with your mind and your ego identity as self in this incarnated form, but we are not in charge. We are not in charge. So even these things like planning, in my case, travel plans or whatever, I can have intuitive guidance. Okay, this is where I need to go, whatever. But at the same time, I could fight as much as I want. I can schedule plan as much as I want, but the final outcome is not up to me. It is not up to me. What's going to happen with this world is not up to you or me. This is like I was explaining to my sister very recently, like, we are dividing, which, division obviously is very, a very real aspect of the three-dimensional experience and the polarization. But really, the world is splitting into these two categories predominantly, but I'm sure there's many more. But just to simplify things, people who still are looking at the outside world and allowing that to determine their reality and just waiting, okay, what's gonna happen? Am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to become this? And then people who are withdrawing their investment, their energy to a certain extent, because obviously we all connected at all times, and saying, no, I need to focus on my inner world. I need to focus on me. I need to focus on my life. I need to focus on my immediate environment and my present moment of my immediate environment. And this is what is my responsibility. This is what, to a certain extent, I have a control over. But that out there, no, that is not my jurisdiction. That is not my responsibility. That is not in my control, But most of us are at the moment being seduced by what's going on in the world. All the tricks are out of the hat all at once. Just like literally like a kids in a candy shop. Like, what do we pay attention to? What do we do first? We are being seduced by all this stuff, by all these chaos and by this drama, and it's like, okay, where is it? Which one is it? Who has the ball? Literally, and then when our predominant energy flow is flowing in the direction, out there, then we feel drained, because this is not my responsibility and is not in my control. There's nothing I can do about it. So if I focus all my energy into that, or most of my energy into that, there's not much left for the things that are for me right here, right now, to make my choices about, right? So this is where we just, in some ways, might feel that we are spinning wheels, right? Spinning wheels, because like, well, nothing is happening, nothing is changing. But where am I focused? Where is my focus? Where am I focused? So that's what I feel like this been, even like in the past 2 weeks, like I've been feeling guilty. I haven't gone on social media. I haven't posted anything. I haven't created anything. What am I doing? And then my husband said that, well, you are living life. I mean, with hand on heart, how many people who are truly living life have time to put it all out there on the social media? I mean, when you really honest with yourself and see how the time is passing these days and the speed at which it is passing, there is so little we can do in one day. I mean, I don't know, at least for me, perhaps other people are having different experience, but I feel like I was able to do much more in one day than I can do now, because the time is going so quickly that I really have to decide, okay, what am I doing right, with my time? What am I doing with my time? So it's hard for me to believe that people who are putting so much stuff on a social media, they actually have so much time to live. Because I mean, how would you be having time to do both? And maybe some people can, but I can't. I haven't got to that point of mastery where I can live my life and process my life and do all the things that I need to do in my everyday reality, and document it for social media at the same time. Like I'm just not able to do that. And then into in certain extent, my Aquarius and my retrograde planets come online and say, I don't want to do it. Everybody else is doing it. Why should I do it? I don't want to do it. So that's what I mean. But anyway, that's like going completely into different rabbit holes over here. But yes, so post this Libra full moon, which we had on April 1st on a Fool's Day, which illuminated to us a lot of things, right? A lot of things which I already spoke about in the Libra Full Moon video, like everything that is out of balance, will be illuminated. Everything that we now outgrown, especially in the past 6 months, will be illuminated, like we are trying to harmonize, we are trying to neutralize, come back to the 0 point from which a new will be created, new moon in Aries. So now we really are at this stage of pivotal decision making. So that's why because the game goes on, and it has to be fun, and it has to be exciting, and it has to be a little bit dramatic and chaotic, because otherwise why else play it, why else watch that movie if it's all just like boring, right? These things are happening in the world on a collective stage. They are happening to distract you, to distract me, to take your energy and say, no, pay attention here, pay attention there, whereas this is really a very important time in everybody's life to decide for themselves, like, what am I seeding, what energy do I want to bring into manifested form? Like, we all going out there to pick your next role, okay, like your role, these karmic roles that were needing to be balanced, that's done, these roles are finished, that TV series is gone. So now we all picking new roles. So what role am I picking? Or am I just going to be left with what's left, like, okay, well, I didn't have time, I was paying too much attention to news, I didn't have time to choose, I didn't know I was supposed to choose, like, come on, there was so much going on out there, I need to pay attention, I need to know what's going on, I need to be informed about what, like that which you are paying attention to. Is that what you want to see manifested going forward? Is that what you want to see recreated going forward? And yeah, it is not just about being like me, ignorant and putting your head in the sand and pretending da 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 da. But I am not doing that. I am fully aware of what's going on. I don't have all the details, I don't need to have all the details, but I know what's going on. I know energetically what's going on, and I know why is it going on, and I understand my role, in a sense, you can say. But also I need to take responsibility for what is mine and what isn't mine, right? Because it's so much easier, and we know it from experience, it's so much easier to get involved in other people's problems and dramas, and then feel I'm a good friend, I'm a good person, because I am listening to this person vomiting all their emotions onto me, or trying to figure out their problems for them, being a good person. But actually that is enabling to stay in the same place, that is not allowing them to learn the same lessons, which is why they will come over and over and over with the same problems, because they haven't not yet learned how to do it. Plus then I am not paying attention to things that are my responsibility, things that I am supposed to work on, change, learn in my own life, right? But I mean, there is no wasted time. Spirit is always learning no matter what. So all that said, because all this rambling doesn't even make much sense, and I don't want to keep going on for an hour. So all that said, there's been so many things going on, so many things becoming conscious and aware, full moon in Libra, conscious and aware. What is my role? What is my role in this big world? What is the I am? What is the I am that actually is in charge? And it is not my mind. It is not my mind that wants to play party tricks or wants to know how to do this and that so it can show everyone on social. No, that is not what it is. There is something completely different, something completely else, which is teaching us patience. It's teaching us diligence, determination, discipline. Discipline is a big word. Discipline. Do you think I want to get out of the bed at 3:21 in the morning? Like, not really, not really. But I do. I do. Like, most of the time, there were 2 days which I just, my higher self just turned the alarm clock off. I never woke up. It was after we came back from the vision class, so tired. But anyway, but most of the time I do, 95% of the time I do. And every day is different, and only recently things started like changing, where yes, I can see something is changing, something is happening here. But that's it, like they say, like, if you take a step towards universe, it will take 10 steps towards you. But am I taking the step towards universe? What am I doing? And it's different time for different people, so it's just a matter of discovering what it is for me, when is the right time for me, what is the right direction for me, and understanding that you will not know the full journey ahead, because if you knew, you will be replicating what was, and this is the new way, the woo way, right? The woo way, the new way, woo way, which is an old way, to live in a flow, to just trust that, okay, I'll know when I need to know and I'll act when I need to act, and that's it. I don't need to know today something that I'm doing tomorrow, which, like, for someone like me who wants to control and manipulate and like do things my way and know far in advance what am I doing so I can schedule and even now we living in 2 weeks, I already want to pack, I need to pack already, I already need to know what's going on. It is not easy, just like Joe Dispenza says in many of his retreats, like the animal in us, like, you wake up in the morning, you check your phone, check your messages, go to toilet, make your coffee, whatever. And he said, no, you just say, okay, stay. You're gonna do all of these things, but for now, I'm in charge. Not you are in charge. I'm in charge. Stay. And this is not easy. This is not easy to do, like, no, let's not fret. Let's be here now. Let's be here now. So that's what we're learning. We're learning to be present. We're learning to enjoy the present. Like, tomorrow is not guaranteed for anyone. We look at the sick people, we look at the old people, and we say, oh yeah, poor them, their time is coming to the end, whatever. You don't know. You might be gone before them, you don't know. You don't know what tomorrow holds. So that's what I mean. We all live in life like we have another 50, 100 years left, but now nobody knows, like all of these things that are happening in the world, and we feel like, oh, sorry for them, but you don't know anything. You don't know anything about other people's life. So that's what I mean. So what we learning, what my husband has been learning in his vision quest, is just enjoy the simple thing, enjoy the food, enjoy the clean water, enjoy the roof over your head, enjoy your bed, these things that really hold the value, that we think like, oh, well, this is just my everyday life, who cares, it's nothing special. But it's not for everyone. There are people who don't have these things, there are people who don't have these things. So this is it, like, we learning to be here now, enjoy the now, because you don't know tomorrow. You don't know, nobody knows tomorrow. We all worried, oh, is the planet gonna be blown up, by the nuclear bomb? Who knows? And in a sense, who cares? What can you do about it? So are we going to spend the remainder of the time worrying about it every day and then go like, oh, thanks God it didn't happen today, but I just wasted all day thinking about it, worrying about it, waiting for it to happen, right? That is not life. What kind of life is that, So that's what I mean. So we are being in a sense, it's like hide and seek, you know, the spirit is playing hide and seek, like, oh, you know, are you gonna find it? Are you gonna find it? Are you gonna look? You know, what you gonna do? You know, are you just gonna live your life? You know, are you just gonna live your life? Because all of these things are there all the time, you know. The duality exists at every moment, you know, the good, bad, you know, the life, death, they're always present, you know, they're the same thing, flip side of the same coin. So it's like, okay, so which side you gonna focus on? Because they're both present. You know, every death includes new beginning. Every new beginnings mean ending. You know, like everything is pleasant at the same time. So how are we living life? You know, are we being here now? And of course, things will come, things will happen, people will trigger us. You know, old pains are resurfacing and stuff. You know, all of that. You know, it's part of life. It's part of tapestry of light, and for this life and for the spirit, even that's exciting, because, you know, being in a spirit form, we don't have any of these things. You know, we don't have the ability to feel any of these things, pain, pleasure, none of that. So that's what I feel, you know, like we are really being attuned to a different way, you know, different way, which is old, you know, it's not even new, it's all always new, because we stopped living this way. So we're learning, you know, we're learning, like, okay, how can I live life differently, you know, without knowing anything, without admitting that I actually don't know anything, you know. Yeah, maybe not, you know. Nothing is guaranteed, nothing is the 100% truth, because the truth is always changing. You are always changing, everything is always in motion. So how do we live accepting that, you know, that, I don't know, you know, all I know is the right here, right now, you know, and all the choices that I have available are the right here, right now, you know. I can choose, but I don't know where it's gonna lead. So that's what I feel, you know, in this Pisces moon, in this ending of the cycle, you know, from new moon in Aries to new moon in Aries, which new moon in Aries, you might remember last year, was still an eclipse, wasn't it? Still an eclipse on a 29 degrees. That was when Neptune, day after Neptune moved for the first time in the sign of Aries. So yeah, so these are big cycles, you know. We are in a big transition, big transition, and not everybody is here for it, you know. I mean, it's if you think about it, it's easier to just leave this physical form, come back as a, you know, the new version of human, right? Just to be born that way, with all the new software and the new everything and the new potentials and stuff, like to go through this process, being born as something and then become something else within the physical realm, within the physical body, that isn't easy. So, you know, so this is where I stop feeling sorry. I stop feeling sorry for people, for myself. You know, I hold the compassion, but I stop feeling sorry, because you might look at the world and say, poor them, they're dying, poor them. But, you know, from the soul perspective, they might, you know, soul perspective, they wouldn't think that way. But from the other side, you know, like they might think, well, poor you. You have to go through all of this in a physical form. Isn't it just easier to go back and come back as something else? So everything's got pros and cons, and obviously the consciousness want to experience it all. So that's why some of us are gonna stay, some of us are gonna go, you know, and you don't know what is what until it happens, right? So how do you live today? How do you live the present moment? How do we all choose to live the present moment? Because there are things happening in the world that you cannot change, you cannot control, you cannot do anything about, you know, not directly, because they are not your contract, you know. There are different contracts at place, but there are things in our life, in everybody's life, every person's life, that we can change, that are in our jurisdiction to change, right? They are up to me, they are up to my choices. So I guess this is what we're learning, you know, with the Saturn Aries. You know, I am becoming my own authority consciously, you know, because I already gone through life. I'm going through transformation. You know, I don't know what's ahead, but I don't know where I do know where I've been. And through the contracts, I learn my preference. If I don't want to experience what I already experienced, then I have to think differently, become different. So, yeah, I feel this is what we're building up with this new moon in Aries, and then obviously continues, and with the Uranus then moving into Gemini, the timelines, the splitting of the timelines. But I feel personally, just a personal opinion, that we will not see the manifestation of all of these things until Saturn moves into Taurus, because that's when the seed will start becoming a seed, right? This is just a consciousness. This is just the energy that we are playing with now with all these Aries, you know. So anyway, and yeah, obviously then we're gonna enter into Taurus season next week. So that will be the beginning of the manifestation for whatever it is to be manifested this year in 2026. But I'm gonna end with that. I'm gonna pull some cards, few cards, and then yeah, just stay tuned for the Aries New Moon video, which will be, I don't know when will I post it, maybe on Thursday, Friday. I haven't recorded it yet, but it will be out before the new moon or alongside with the new moon. Okay, we're gonna pull the energy oracle from Sandra and Taylor to see about the energies. Energy oracle, Sandra and Taylor. What are the energies of the present moment? Moon in Pisces. Okay, we have a magician and a mirror. Number 53, number 8. These are actually my numbers. 53, number 8. Through the chaos, the new creation is happening, through that happening in the world, and also this is an old man, the Saturn, Capricorn, we are learning, we have the opportunity to create, the light and the dark, the feminine and the masculine, the magician and the mirror. Through everything we are experiencing is an opportunity to create something new, through the process of mirroring, like that wanted or unwanted, right? Also through the law of attraction, law of manifestation. What do I want mirrored back to me? I have to become that which I want to see mirrored back to me. So you, consciousness, you as a creator are in the middle of it. There is a polarity happening at all times. The good and the bad exist simultaneously. But which one do I focus on? What do I want to create? With the 53, 8, the Saturn, Jupiter, the expansion, the manifestation. Wow, and goddess of the moon, number 52. That's interesting because this was at the bottom of the deck, and we can see the order, like the order in which the cards come. And this is the front page of the deck, the goddess of the moon. The new way of creating is through the feminine. The Saturn is in Aries, which is the new way of Saturn in Aries means that we are going to create in a new way. We're going to create a new reality. Mars now is in the sign of Aries, but at the time when Saturn entered Aries was in the sign of Pisces, I believe, or maybe Aquarius. Either or, doesn't matter, because both are quantum field and the spirit realm. We're going beyond. We're going beyond what was manifested before, and the beyond is to trust that which is not manifested, which is not in the physical form. You trust. I know for sure when Neptune moved into the sign of Aries, Mars was still in the sign of Aquarius, but I'm not sure about the Saturn, and I'm not gonna check right now, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But yeah, you can see she holds the moon, the moon, the divine feminine, the moon, the high priestess, trust in your intuition, all that blue, trust in your inner guidance, the flow of the water, the flow of life, trusting that something which we cannot see, and also 7, is the Neptunian number. So the new way of creating, it's beyond the physical. Just like I said before, you cannot create the different reality from the same place, as the same person with the same level of consciousness. So everything that's happening in the world is offering you a mirror, it's offering me a mirror to see what it is in me that I am not able to accept. And because I am not able to accept by law of attraction, what you resist persist. So I don't want this to be happening. I don't want this, by my all focus on what I don't want, I keep giving life to it. I don't want it, but because I'm focusing on it, it keeps living. So rather than focus on what I don't want, I need to focus on what I do want. And what is that I want is being spoken to me through my emotions, right? What is my preference? What makes me feel better? What makes me feel good? Trusting that guidance, being in the flow of your own self. All right, I'm actually going to pull from the angels and ancestors, because there's been a lot of, especially like recently for me, a lot of ancestor tradition experience, and also because moon is in the sign of Pisces, Pisces, all that was before Pisces, those who came before us, our past life, everything that already was manifested but returned back to the form, right, waiting to be manifested again. Guidance from the angels and ancestors. And also Mars in this new phase conjunction with Neptune, giving life to the old in a new way. What is the guidance from angels and ancestors? All right. Druid, hold the space. Hold the space. And at the bottom, Air Guardian, see, shift your perception. So yeah, we have another old man in here, you know, another Saturn. You know, to me this is again connected like with, yeah, observe what is, you know, also he's got the crystal there. You know, this is a like in a sense history playing out again, like I mentioned before, for a new choice to be made, you know, because until we keep while we keep continue to make the same choice, the history has to keep repeating itself, you know, because if I make the same choice, then I will create the same result, right? So a new choice have to be created. So with all these leaves, you know, all this blooming, so we hold in the space, we hold in a space for all of this to play out. These things, they have to play out. They are not just going to disappear. I already explained that previously, you know, energy cannot be destroyed, you know, it can only change form. So it cannot just disappear by itself, you know, like, okay, yeah, it will just disappear, you know, like we hold in space for whatever needs to play out, you know, so the energy is spent, so it can transform, so it can transmute, so it can be released, so a new energy can be created to take place in its space. And yeah, this is the wisdom of the ancestors, you know, there is nothing new under the sun. Everything we've experienced already happened, and that which hasn't happened yet already exists in a different timelines, right? So also with the crystal, you know, the crystal holds a memory of everything. And then with the Air Guardian, shift your perspective. So this is like where we can look at the state of the world, state of my life, state of everybody's life, and have an opinion, you know, have a judgment against it. But nothing is what it seems. This world is not what it seems. We're living in an inverted reality. Nothing is quite what you think it is. You know, even you are not what you think you are. You know, your life is not what you really think it is. You know, everything is something different. So understanding that, yes, it might not be my preference, but I also know that I don't know. You know, I know that I don't know, and I understand that there is something else at play here, which is beyond my comprehension. So hold the space for things that have to play out, because this is an old energy, wanting to change, and at the same time see it from a higher perspective, like hold the compassion as a human experience, you know, the human suffering, but change the perspective, because there is a meaning and purpose to this, you know, and by you suffering with that, it's like dishonoring those who chose to make that sacrifice, so you don't have to, so you can choose something else, so you can create something else. Yeah, air, you know, also Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, you know, things are being balanced. You know, also Saturn in Aries, opposition Libra, you know, Saturn in Aries, so-called fall, right? Because Saturn in Libra is in its exaltation. But there is no polarization with evolutionary astrology. Everything serves a purpose. We learn in anew, we learn in our own power by honoring the ancestors, by making a new choice. So just shift the perspective. All right, and the Psychic Tarot. Psychic Tarot, what is the guidance with regards to these energies? Moon in Pisces, preparing for the nice new cycle and coming towards the Aries New Moon. Okay, bunch of cards. We have a devil there at the end. This one, intuition. So this bunch of cards that came out. Temptation, Four of Swords, rest and rejuvenate, fertility, passion reignited, and also the High Priestess. Okay, that's 5. Let's get one more from the back, from the bottom. Oh, heart chakra, of course. Heart chakra number 4. This is the new structure of reality, the heart chakra, the cosmic heart. Cosmic heart, not the human heart. Cosmic heart, which is the unconditional love of the universe. So yeah, you know, the devil will tempt. The devil will always tempt, because the good and the bad coexist simultaneously, right? We live in the world of polarity. So use your intuition, you know. Rest when you need to rest. Not everything is your responsibility. Not everything is for you to fix. Not everything is for you to change. Just know what it is, you know. Use your intuition, use your discernment to know what is what. And also the fertility. We are preparing for Taurus season, right? Venus is already in a sign of Taurus. The earth is fertile, you know. As soon as Venus will have a conjunction with Uranus on the 23rd, she will move into the sign of Gemini, right? The timelines. And then Uranus will move into the sign of Gemini. So the earth is fertile, the cosmos is fertile for this new creation. You are not bound by the choices of the past. You can make a new choice. Also, this is number 3, creation, you know, 3 in astrology, Gemini, choice, right? Gemini. So you can choose differently, applying your heart, right? Heart chakra. Just trust your intuition, just like this lady. Learn to trust your intuition, flow with the cycles of life. Sometimes you have to rest, you know, the 4 of Swords. Know when it's time for you to rest. Also now with the Aries season, this is, even though you might think this is a time to act, but this is an Aries season, you know, it is not yet to be created, you know, this is to be seeded. The creation happens in Leo season, right? And the passion ignited, you know, focus, what gives you the desires, you know, what ignites your heart, what makes you feel alive, you know, the new cycle begins here. Ace of Wands, heart, heart, heart. What brings your heart, what sets your heart on fire, you know, noticing what is my preference, when am I happy, you know, noticing those simple moments in everyday reality. When do I feel happy, you know, what makes me happy, what makes me feel in flow, what makes me feel alive, what makes me feel aligned to my path, what feels good, you know. And also the 2, choice, partnership, in partnership with the spirit, connect with the cosmos, connect with the universe. Yes, this always exists, at least for now, at least, you know, where we are at as a humanity, it exists, but it doesn't define you. You don't have to become it, you don't have to adopt it, you're not bounded by the choices of the past, you're here to transform them, you know. So that's another belief of my husband, that, you know, the prophecies exist to be released, to be transformed, not to manifest, you know. They don't have to manifest. If you choose that, yeah, I'm not gonna buy into this, I'm gonna create my own, you know, create through the heart, your cosmic heart, what is leading you forward, you know. And if you don't know, take time to rest, take time to connect, you know, to still that mind, to connect, to ground. Yeah, this is Swords, like the most healing element currently is the nature, you know, that reminds us where we came from. There are many not many people who don't feel at peace at nature. Okay, final message from these little messages, card with little messages. Okay, final message to close this reading, please. Okay, well, there's too many, let's just get one. Okay, I'll just take the top one, that's quite good. How can I infuse more self-love and compassion into my daily life? If your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. Apparently, that's what Buddha said. Today's soul activation. Choose one self-care action to do today. Get stronger boundaries, meditate and listen to your heart. Speak to yourself with compassion. Focus on your strengths. Say no to something that isn't a soul yes. Say yes to something you are afraid of. Let go of what you cannot control. Stay far away from drama and negativity. Ask for help and allow it. And number 10, write down 3 things you are grateful for. So here we go, here is your list. Choose one thing. All right, guys, with that, I'm going to okay, where can I create more space? That was at the bottom. Instead of filling yourself up with busy work and things to do, create more sacred space in your schedule, in your home, in your mind, and your lungs, and in your heart. Take time just to be. Do a clutter detox of your schedule, home, and innermost self. Make space and clarity will come. All right, I think really that is all we needed to hear at this point. And with that, I'm going to end. I don't know if this was any help to anyone or any value, but I just felt the need to speak. And yeah, just stay tuned for my Aries New Moon video. And also my birthday sale will probably begin on the 20th. So keep your eye out for that. That will be the biggest sale of the year, bigger than the Black Friday. So if you wish to take advantage and book a reading, this will be probably the best time of the year to book. You can schedule for whenever. And also, as I mentioned, I will be moving back to Europe in 2 weeks' time. So my time zone will change. But anyway, more about that another time. With that, I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll speak to you again soon. Much love, everyone, and bye for now.